Alright, this video is about shear pins. Are you tired of these? There's some broken pieces. There's one I haven't broke yet. I'm going to show you something that I bought. A guy on Facebook. I'm not going to say his name. I don't have permission for his name, but if you don't know what a shear pin is, then you probably haven't broken one yet. But what it is it's a bolt that attaches the drive shaft to the input shaft on a gearbox. Now, this doesn't necessarily apply just to a brush hog. It could be on a rototiller or any kind of shaft-driven implement going on the PTO of your tractor. This thing's cheap. It was like $80 on Amazon. So, highly recommend it. I have not broke a shear pin since I put this on. I would break 3 or 4 shear pins every time I'd use this. And I'm not talking I was running over giant trees or anything like that. I mean, if I hit a molehill, a pile of dirt, stuff like that, got in really thick grass, and then of course I never tried to cut anything big down before I had this because I knew it would just break it, and I'm too lazy to change them. It's not that big of a deal to change one, but lately it seemed like the last few times mine would change, the shaft would spin, the PTO shaft would spin on that input shaft, and then trying to get it to spin back up to where the holes would line out and I could drive it out with a punch. It was, and it always does it when you're almost done and you just needed 10 more minutes and you could have finished. Now you got to spend 15 minutes, and that's if you've got another shear pin in your toolbox on the back of your tractor. This isn't just for this tractor. This apply for about any of them. Now, what I bought, the reason I bought the one that I have is so that I don't have to buy one of these for each implement. This one will be good for each implement I want to attach to it. So what I'm talking about is this deal right here with these bolts with these springs that you see the shaft on. What that is a slip clutch. Basically, if you buy an implement with a slip clutch on the PTO shaft, it's the same thing that you're getting. This one is just in a different place. It was $80 on Amazon. Took me 20-30 minutes to install it. I'll show you taking it on and off, so you don't have to always use it if you don't want to. I'll show you real quick how you take it off. Now, you can buy other ones. Now, I didn't see those on Amazon, but if you Google them, there's a company, I think it was Ag something, but they make some that you can put back here that would go, they have a hole in, they have basically a fitting like this on one side of the slip clutch, then it would be right here, and then you would attach your PTO shaft to it. So the input and outputs and stuff would be a little bit different on it. Now, like I said, the reason I did not buy that one was you would leave that on the brush hog, and this is the only PTO implement I have right now. No, I take that back. I have a post hole digger, which that would be another implement that this would be good on. But the reason I bought this one up here is it'll already be on the tractor for whatever PTO driven implement that I put on here. So that's kind of the difference, but everybody's situation is a little bit different, so you may have a need for that. I don't, but I'll show you real quick. It's kind of hard to get a decent angle here, so forgive the camera angle and all that stuff, but I'll just show you taking it off, and then you'll let me get it. There we go. How's that? And then I'll take it off real quick, and then I can kind of show you it, and I can show you what you do. Now, when you buy this thing, at least the one I bought off Amazon, and I've seen things on Google, this one didn't come with instructions, so I had to Google it and all that. But I'll show you real quick how you set this up. So here's how I take it off. You know what? I'll tell you what, I'm wrong. It's bolted on. Let me see if I can. I thought it had a button to push, so I lied. Sorry. If you can see down in here, right there, that is a bolt. So it's bolted in. Now that I remember, it had a tapered hub. the PTO shaft on your tractor looks just like this. So basically, you're sliding a female thing around this, and then it had a bolt that would lock it onto this collar. So essentially, this becomes your PTO shaft. Now, since I can't get it on the tractor, I'm not going to get wrenches out and take this off for a silly video. But essentially, what you do when you get this thing, you slide it on there, make sure it fits on your PTO shaft. Blah blah blah, all that stuff. Of course it does. Pull it back off, and you take each one of these springs, and you loosen them to where these springs move. Okay. Now the instructions that I found was you loosen those up. These are nylock nuts, so you loosen it up to where the spring kind of moves around and you can spin it and stuff. And then you take it apart. Now it's gonna be hard to see, but you can see down in here. Inside that are a bunch of clutch plates. I don't remember how many were in there, but there was a bunch. There was a dozen or so, maybe. You take all them, they're painted, so they're all stuck together. You take them and separate them all. You don't need to set them down and whatever, but you just want to break them away from each other because the paint's got them stuck together. Then you put them back together, and then you take these nuts, and I turn them until the springs got tight, and then I turned them a half a turn more, and that was my starting point. So then what I did, a good way to tell is if the clutch is slipping, is you'll notice it on startup when you start your PTO. See if it lags or not. What I mean by lag is the PTO spinning, but the bush hog took a split second for it to start. That means the clutch slipped, and that's what you want it to do. So it's kind of trial and error, but do not just put it on the way it comes in the box, because it's not going to be a slip clutch at that point. These nuts were really tight, and what that does is that's pulling these two flanges together where those clutches are in the middle. So once you buy one and you see it, you'll kind of understand. But that's the biggest thing, is you loosen these up till the spring moves around, bust those, take it all apart, get those clutches out, make sure they're free from each other and they're not stuck together. Put it back together the way you took it apart, and then tighten these till the springs don't move, and then just give them a half a turn more. Now once you do that, if it's just slipping on everything you run over, like say you want to go run over a 1-inch sapling or something when you're brush hogging, and it just slips and it won't cut it down, well then shut the tractor off obviously and come back here and tighten it another half turn. But you got to put the same tension on each bolt, each spring. And then now if it's slipping too much, well, if you break a shear pin instead of it slipping, say you go out and you run over a 1-inch tree and you break a shear pin, then you need to come in and loosen all these a little bit until you can find that sweet spot where the clutches slip before the shear pin breaks. That's the beauty of this. Now there was a post on a Rural King page, because that's the tractor that this is. Guys were upgrading that shear pin. Don't do that. You do not want to put a grade 5 or a grade 8 bolt in that shear pin, because then the bolt won't break. It'll probably break the U-joints on your PTO shaft, and if it doesn't do that, you could break something inside your tractor in the rear end for the PTO. You definitely don't want to do that, because then you're down and out. So that's just a little video. I had promised a guy I'd make this video for him so that he could understand. He was having the same problems I was. He just didn't know these were available. So hopefully this helps. If you got any questions, put it in the comments below, man. I appreciate it. And that's pretty much it. Oh, one more thing to add. This adds like 6 or 7 inches to where your PTO is. So I had to trim my PTO shaft down. What I did was I just took a measurement off the tractor to the end of the tractor PTO. I took a measurement to the end of that. I put this on, took another measurement. I think, don't hold me to it, but it was like 6 or 7 inches if I think. And I just cut that off of the shaft. Now, another thing you got to remember, you need to make sure your shaft is long enough that it'll still reach, but you also got to make sure that it's short enough that you can raise and lower the attachment, whether it's a brush hog or whatever. You need to be able to raise and lower it to where you're not putting it in a bind, because that's why that shaft is a slip fit for when you're raising and lowering. You don't want to put it in a bind, and you don't want to lower it enough to where it separates the slip on the shaft. So just keep that in mind. You will have to cut it. You can cut it with a hacksaw or a sawzall, or I used a bandsaw just because I have one. And then take you a file and file the ends of it where you cut it, but so that it's easy to put back together. And that's a good time to maybe put some never sees on the slip fit of the shaft. So like I said, if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and as soon as I see it, I'll answer. Thanks. Bye.